Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Um, let's wait for a few more minutes so that everybody else can join in as well. And those who are here, welcome. I'm so glad to see you all. Um, it's really good that so many of you join in on these Saturday webinars that we have. I know that it's a weekend, but I'm really glad to see that so many of you are joining in and hopefully gaining like valuable insight into how to deal with IBS and what can be done to help you. Um, and as I mentioned, this is something that we do, we try to do every Saturday, alternating between nutrition and psychology or mental well-being focused webinars. So please do keep joining in. Good evening to you as well, Dr. Manoj Kumar. I'm really glad to see you here. Let's just wait for a few more minutes and then we can start. Today's webinar is going to be a little bit more, um, include more like technical terms, but I am hoping that we all gain a bit of understanding about the gut brain axis and the mechanisms that go behind it and how it influences or, how it is influences on IBS and how IBS is impacted because of it. And hopefully we can all gain a little bit of more knowledge about it. Let's just wait for 2 more minutes and then we can start. Really glad to see so many of you joining in. As I mentioned before, this is something we do every Saturday. So next Saturday would be a nutrition focused webinar. So please join in for that as well. Um, oh, I'm so sorry. You can't hear me. Can you guys hear me properly? Just let me know in the chat if you can hear me properly. If my voice is really low, please do let me know. Okay, hi Salman. Really glad to see you. Thank you so much for letting me know that I am audible. Let's just wait 1 more minute and then we can start. Um, as you can see, today's topic is understanding the gut brain axis and its impact on IBS. I'm going to try to explain it in a little bit more detail. We usually do include the gut brain axis somewhere, at least like, in our conversations or in our previous webinars as well. But I'm trying to get into it a little bit in the detail a bit more and understand the gut brain interaction and the mechanisms that go into it. I hope that you all will gain some kind of insight in it. And of course, towards the end of it, if you have any questions, please do let me know in the chat. I will be reading those as well, and I will answer to the best of my abilities. Okay, I'm glad to see that I am properly audible. Okay, I think we can start. Welcome to everybody who is here. And my name is Aishwarya. I'm a lead coach psychologist for Daily Bloom IBS. And today's topic is understanding the gut brain axis and its impact on IBS. So throughout this webinar, we're gonna obviously go over a little bit about the IBS symptoms, their types, and then going to look into the gut-brain axis connection. We're going to talk about the mechanisms of this connection, of this interaction between the gut and the brain, its impact on IBS, and then we're going to briefly go over the management strategies or the lifestyle changes that you might need to do because of it. So, and this obviously IBS. IBS is a irritable bowel syndrome, a functional intestinal disorder. It is a chronic condition. I always say this to any of my patients that while it's not a life threatening disorder, it is a lifestyle change disorder. So you have to kind of make a lot of modifications to be able to manage it well, and you can, like, this is possible, very much possible. Living with IBS, it can be emotionally and physically challenging. It is something that is something that affects you on the day to day, but it is also characterized by symptoms such as abdominal pain, bloating, diarrhea, constipation. You can also have cramps. Some people have cramps. You can. There are multitude of symptoms that you might feel or experience, but these are the four ones that are prominent more: abdominal pain, bloating, constipation, and diarrhea. There are three types based on these symptoms: IBS C, which is IBS constipation, IBS D, diarrhea, and IBS M, which is mixed symptoms where you might have, both constipation and diarrhea. The gut brain axis. So, in simpler terms, think of it like it's a communication highway that's connecting your gut and your brain, and it is a two-way street. So messages are constantly being back and forth between the two of them, between the gut and the brain, right? So this kind of means that your gut, if you're feeling distress, if you're feeling one of the symptoms, it will affect your brain. And if you're feeling stressed, you're feeling frustrated, it's going to impact your gut. The gut brain communication happens or occurs through a series of different pathways, right? And it is crucial to kind of maintain this connection, to keep it in balance, because it affects a lot of functions, body functions. um, since they're constantly sending signals to each other, it does mean that your gut can influence how you feel, how you think, and of course how you feel and think. If you're taking too much stress, you're anxious, you're feeling a little depressed, is going to impact your gut as well. So how do the gut and the brain actually communicate? Obviously there are many different ways that they do that, but we are going to talk a little bit about the ones that are mentioned on the screen right now. So the vagus nerve, right? So the vagus nerve is actually a critical component in the gut-brain axis, right? It serves as a major communication highway between the gut and the brain. It transmits information about the state of your gut, including feelings of fullness, of discomfort, or even the presence of pathogens. So it is something that's one of the main kind of components to this axis. Right? There is also the ENS, which is the enteric nervous system. It is also kind of known as the second brain. You know, the ENS is actually a critical part of the gut brain axis, managing your digestive processes and influencing your overall well-being by working closely with the brain, right? So it involves a complex network of neurons located in the lining, kind of, or the walls of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so it communicates, or it also communicates with the central nervous system. So it is an extremely important part of this. I know that I'm mentioning a lot of technical terms. I am trying to be as simple as possible about it. So hopefully a lot of you are able to understand what I'm saying. There are also neurotransmitters. So the gut produces neurotransmitters such as serotonin, which is, as you know, the happy hormone. It can influence your mood and your cognitive function. It's surprising, even I didn't know this fact. While I was doing some research, I found out that the gut actually produces approximately 90% of your body's serotonin in the gut, which is, I just thought it was so surprising. I'm wondering if you guys also are finding this kind of surprising. So you can imagine how influential having a good gut function is to your overall mood, to your overall just emotional state, to your just your well-being, like your emotional well-being, psychological well-being. um, it influences, that influence that your gut can have on your brain. Like, imagine if you wake up and you're feeling one of your symptoms of IBS, suppose it's, say, diarrhea. Your entire day is ruined. And I didn't know it went that far in that 90% of the brain's serotonin is produced in the or it's found in the gut. So it is actually going to impact your mental state so much, right? Because serotonin, as I said before, is the happy hormone. So you are going to feel that level of distress. It is not that you're exaggerating, it's not that people might, I'm sure, once when you were experiencing a symptom, somebody might have mentioned it's fine, it's okay, but it is not. It is something that has a huge impact on your brain as well, right? There's also the immune system. The gut contains a large portion of the body's immune cells, and these cells can influence brain function and behavior. Microbiota. So the gut microbiota is a key player in the. Oops, sorry. Right. The microbiota. So the gut microbiota is a key player in the gut-brain axis, which influences brain function and behavior through various pathways. So maintaining a healthy and balanced gut microbiota is crucial for overall mental and physical well-being. So obviously these are not the like only kind of important factors that are involved in the gut brain axis, but this is something that I thought was interesting and possibly like information that would also make people understand that it is genuinely that important. The gut brain axis is something that relates to your IBS a lot more. So gut brain axis and IBS, right? So it is obviously there are many factors that influence IBS because of the gut brain axis, but I chose these four to talk about. Um, so bidirectional communication. So bidirectional communication meaning what? As I said, that the gut brain axis is a two-way street, right? So they're constantly sending signals to each other, connecting with each other, right? So obviously changes in one will influence the other. So when you're experiencing these IBS symptoms, it is going to influence your brain as well. And if you're feeling a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety or depression, it will have an impact on your digestive tract as well. There are also psychological factors, uh, emotional disturbances or psychological stress can impact your IBS symptoms because it leads to increase in your levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and other obviously stress hormones as well. Anxiety and depression are more prevalent in IBS symptoms, indicating that mental health can significantly influence gut function. So it is very important to also focus on psychological well-being even when you have like especially when you have IBS, because it has an impact on your gut function. The microbiota. So the gut microbiota plays an important or like a crucial role in the gut brain axis, as I mentioned in the previous slide as well. An imbalance in this microbiota, it can affect the um, pain perception or pain processing, and it can obviously in fact impact also brain function and mood, which is again like an important factor is that you have to really look into this as not just a physical disorder. It is something that affects your mental well-being, your emotional well-being a lot, and that is something that you need to take into consideration when you think about IBS treatment, IBS management. There's also visceral sensitivity. So IBS patients often experience heightened symptoms or heightened sensitivity to their symptoms, meaning that they feel pain and discomfort from stimuli that maybe others might not. Right. So this hypersensitivity is thought to be due to changes in the gut-brain communication, leading to altered pain perception and processing. So again, all this to just say that just focusing on one aspect, which is probably nutrition, will not have the desired effect. You have to look into it through both aspects, which is your well-being, your mental well-being, as well as your nutrition to IBS management. So obviously there are multiple things that you can do to maintain like a good gut brain access connection, a well balanced gut brain access connection as well. So there are some psychological interventions. Firstly, cognitive behavioral therapy. So cognitive behavioral therapy is kind of like a talk therapy. It focuses on the principle of how you think is going to influence how you feel, which is going to influence how you behave. And that's how you kind of, those are the main principles behind this therapy. And CBT can actually be very effective in managing IBS by addressing the gut brain axis. It will help in stress reduction, which you know that stress, anxiety, and such things are a trigger for IBS symptoms, as well as it can sometimes increase the intensity of these symptoms as well. It CPT can also help in developing good and healthy long-term coping strategies or skills to help deal with IBS symptoms, and obviously any other emotional or mental health related issues that you might have because of IBS. Um, it can also help you deal with discomfort and pain, which, as we just talked about, that your pain perception and processing does change because of an imbalance in the gut brain axis. It can also help with changing how you think. So basically, CBT focuses on identifying negative thinking patterns and challenging them. And this happens a lot because IBS is so effective in your day-to-day life. Like you feel it a lot more, right? As I said, if you experience a symptom in the morning, your entire day is ruined, and you have so many things to do in the day, I'm sure. You have work, you have other responsibilities, family responsibilities. So dealing with IBS is emotionally very challenging, and it is something that affects your daily life or your quality of life a lot. And CBT helps with making you stronger in a way to deal with these things, because as I said, IBS is not a life threatening disorder, but it is it is there is no like specific cure ki aaj kuch medicine liya to you'll be completely um, cured because of it. So it is something that you need to focus ki long term how you would develop certain skills within yourselves to deal with it in a better way. And CBT definitely helps with that. CBT also helps with encouraging healthy behavioral changes, such as regular exercise or regular sleep. While obviously CBT is not the only way that you would do these things, but it does help you in maintaining a good routine, which will help you. And basically, by addressing the psychological effects of IBS, CBT helps to improve the communication between the gut and the brain. Right. Um, based stress reduction techniques, the same thing. Stress is an extremely important part, or extremely important factor that you have to realize in your IBS management. And stress is not going away anywhere. Like everybody knows this these days, stress is very much present in your day-to-day life, and from school kids to old people, it is something that is not going to go away. So while you can't eliminate stress, you can learn how to manage it really well, and learn how to not let it negatively impact you. Also, meditation practices really improve, help you with stress reduction, anxiety. It promotes relaxation, which is extremely important. It also improves emotional regulation. So meditation helps individuals become more aware of their thoughts and emotions, which decreases their anxiety and depression, often which is linked with IBS flare-ups. So this will help you also in like a long term fashion. There are also lifestyle modification. While I have included dietary modifications here, and I will say like a little bit about it, I am not a nutritionist. We have some amazing, highly experienced senior nutritionists who also do these webinars. So please do check in when they're doing that as well. But as you know, lifestyle modifications are necessary for IBS treatment. Dietary modification includes following a low FODMAP diet, managing fiber intake, avoiding your food triggers, and staying hydrated. It will help improve your gut brain connection and lessen your IBS symptoms. There's also regular exercise. Exercise, obviously, I know a lot of you already know this, helps in so many different ways, right? It helps you keep healthy physically, mentally. It's definitely important, especially in IBS patients, because it can help regulate bowel movements by promoting better gut mobility, which is extremely important. It also strengthens your immune system, which will help to maintain a healthy gut microbiota. It can also help reduce inflammation. It is shown that inflammation in the body worsens your symptoms, IBS symptoms, and regular exercise can help keep it in check. There is also adequate sleep. I'm sure that all of you have experienced this once in your life, where your sleep schedule was just really not good, whether it's because of office stress or school, or just your symptoms. It can be anything, but you definitely have experienced this, where um, due to some reason you're not able to get that sleep. And sleep is extremely important. It is definitely something that impacts your digestion, your also your emotional state. It's definitely something that's just important and should be prioritized. I feel like a lot of people, because they are trying to work hard, get into get in ahead in life, often ignore sleep. But it is important. It is something that will help in keeping your IBS symptoms in check as well. And of course, I do want to take a few minutes and talk about our app. We essentially have two pillars: nutrition and wellness. We have highly experienced nutritionists there to personalize diet plans and recipes and help you regarding your very specific issues that you might have around IBS. We also have wellness. We have a good experienced group of psychologists that help with relaxation, with stress, with anxiety, and help build you these healthy coping skills that I mentioned. And of course, there are different resources that we have. Symptom tracking is something that's highly important. I definitely recommend it. That is how you're going to understand your food triggers, which will help you in future for long term effect. There are also yoga videos, as I mentioned, that physical activity is important. So do check out the app as well. And if you have any questions, now would be the time. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I didn't make this like a very long webinar, because I felt like there was a lot of, I guess, scientific terminology that was being used, and I feel like I wanted to make it, not have like an information overload for people. So I kept it short and sweet, tried to explain my best about how the gut brain axis works and why it is important, and how that gut brain axis is actually working, like how that gut and the brain are actually connected and how they impact each other. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Any questions at all are completely welcome. Next Saturday, we will be having a nutrition focused webinar, so please join in for that as well. CBD, Dr. Manoj Kumar has asked how much CBD helps to alleviate the triggers of IBS. CBD is extremely effective, and not only just for IBS, but the for stress, anxiety, for depression, these kind of things that impact IBS very like in a large quantity. This is definitely something that will help. There are many things in CBT that are helpful. I think in one of my own webinars a few weeks ago, I did talk a lot more about specific techniques that can be helpful, which are in CBT, and I'm sure I'll mention them again as well. But it is very effective. If there are any other questions. Okay, so CBT consists of what? So CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. It is, as I said, just talk therapy where you're talking to a therapist or talking to a counselor, and it focuses on the idea that how you think is going to influence how you feel, which is going to influence your behavior, right? So suppose I'll give you an example. Um, Suppose you are afraid of going to a party or like a gathering, family gathering, because you're worried that your IBS symptoms might flare up, right? So that's what your thinking is. Clearly, that is a negative thinking kind of pattern, which is obviously based on your experiences, right? So you're thinking about, oh, I feel like I don't want to go to this family gathering because I might experience this thing and I'm afraid about it. So that's what you're thinking, and you being afraid is what you're feeling. So your thinking is affecting your feelings, and you're feeling scared, which is why you're not going to go now, which is what is your behavior, right? So that's how that whole the IBS, sorry, CBT ideology is. Thinking influences feeling, influences behavior. And what we can do about this is we can work around challenging these negative thinking patterns, identifying them, so that your thinking changes. And once your thinking changes, your feelings are going to change. And if feelings change, your behavior changes, right? I'm sure all of you have experienced this at some point or another where you're scared about your symptoms. You don't want to experience them around another people. And that's why you are worried about, I don't want to, you're avoiding certain places, and CBT helps with that a lot. um how do you go about CBT? So CBT, most therapists I know are CBT trained, and they are very well versed in it. And it's therapy is definitely recommended in general. In our program, you do have one-on-one sessions with a psychologist, so they would definitely apply these CBT principles and help you as much as you need. How can we manage stress, divert mind when we have too much workload because it causes major flare ups? Um, there are so many things you can do here. There are specific stress reduction techniques that very much are helpful. They're easy to do, hardly takes 10-15 minutes. But if you do them consistently, they're very effective. There are also breathing techniques that you can do that are very helpful and will help you if you're feeling overwhelmed. You do these techniques and you bring yourself back, you try these grounding techniques and you calm yourself down to make good decisions, I guess, in a way. Dr. Manoj Kumar asks, how can we maintain a healthy environment with the help of medication on or other ways in day-to-day basis if suffering from such a chronic condition? I feel this is obviously my personal belief that depending on any kind of medication, because there are so many side effects, right? I wouldn't think that having that as a long-term plan is ever going to be helpful. But there are many ways that you can do build these healthy coping skills, like having good stress reduction strategies, having good techniques that you can use every single day that will help you build up your resilience as well, and that will help you maintain a healthy environment um, to deal with this, to manage this in a long term fashion. How does CBT help in dealing with OCD? So see, OCD also is based on certain or ritualistic habits, right? There is certain beliefs that are there because of which your behavior is influenced, and that is the principle of CBT. So we do try to focus on your thinking, your thinking patterns, what you believe, and we focus on those, and we try to help you accordingly. It is definitely um, it is definitely like a longer process, because OCD has different aspects to it, different types also, but it is definitely possible to be able to manage it really well. I see somebody has raised a question. We can't have like you speak, but if you can put the question in the chat, Enoch sir, if you can listen, if you can put the question in the chat, I will definitely be able to answer it. I know I went over CBT really quickly because I didn't want to have, as I said, too much information. But we do try to do these every Saturday. So I'm sure that we will get more in depth into it. I think my own last webinar, which was a couple of weeks ago, I did mention a lot about CBT. But it is extremely effective in various, mental health issues as well. And I would definitely recommend it. Hi Shanti ji, do you have any question? Please do ask. Feel free to ask. I'm here to answer. Any other questions? We have 1 more minute. If no more questions, then we can end for today. Thank you so much for joining in on your weekend. I know that it's a weekend, a lot of people have. This is probably the only time that they have that is free, but I really appreciate that we join. And please do join in next Saturday as well. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So I am going to say goodbye and we can talk, next session.